Wells. No, I don't know what I got out of it. I didn't invade their space. They invaded my space.
Yeah.
So I want to know why they came, not what benefit I got from them. Also, once they were gone and I woke up and was calm again, I noticed my night table lamp was laying in my bed on my right side. And yet it was supposed to be standing on my night table on the left side. But I did not physically see them in the room. Of course, it probably was not in the summertime, because otherwise at 6 o'clock there would have been light in the room. But there was enough light coming through the window when they went through the window.
Okay, and you just said that the lamp was in your bed, and you also mentioned before, I think, that while you were trying to wake up or whatever, you were trying to turn the lamp on.
Yeah.
So you're a young boy. I'm just going to propose that it's possible that you managed to reach the lamp and maybe it fell into your bed. Okay, now I'm just saying,
No,
if I was
I still feel it now, you know. First of all, I noticed somebody is in the room. I'm stiff. I don't want to move. And slowly I take my hand and I sweep over the night table, and there is no lamp there, right? It had gone.
You're stiff. You don't want to move. So I'll leave it at that, because, as I say, I don't argue with your experience. I can't, I don't know if I can learn anything from it, if it makes in terms of extraterrestrial existence.
What you should learn from it, that at least one person have seen physical grace.
Well,
you seem to deny.
Well, that's an anecdotal claim, and I love it.
Okay, I have another anecdotal thing. I just recently, I've known this Swiss lady for quite some time, because we have Swiss movies at the German club.
Yeah.
And she was interested in UFOs. And I said, well, it's, you should watch this. But she says, well, my son is on the computer, but I'm not. But she said, I had a friend who was a friend of Billy Meier, Olga Walter. And she was with a group of people with Billy. And then Billy just disappeared. He had to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, she didn't say how long Billy was gone and how long they were waiting for him, right? But it must have been the same day. But when he came back, he had a 3-day beard or stubble. Do you know the story?
Yes.
Can you enlarge on it?
Okay, yes. I can tell you a brief thing about this, because it's happened to more than one person that, for instance, some people, just a little more. The lead investigator, Wendell Stevens, was in the home with Billy late at night. It was pouring out, and Billy got up. He says, they want me to come for a contact. I have to go. He got up. They fixed his boots and stuff. He walked out the kitchen door. Wendell then got up, walked out the same door. He says, by the time he got out, he saw 3 or 4 footsteps in the mud, and there were no other footsteps. Then later, when someone got the signal to pick Billy up, they all went to the area. It was still raining, and suddenly Billy was walking towards them with a completely dry coat, not wet at all. Then, about the thing you're talking about, Billy had, when he was younger and having the contacts, he had a girlfriend he was with, and he disappeared for a few hours or whatever and came back. He had a beard. And she said, what are you doing trying to play these tricks? And he says, well, I've been away with them for some time. I've been gone actually for about a week, whatever. She says, you're a crazy man. You said, but it happened. And people would see this and they'd go, wait a minute, he just left here and now he's back with a beard. And there are these stories that are told, and they're in the books and everything else. When you get into the time travel stories about how long he actually has lived outside of our time is almost double his 84 years. It's like, okay, I can't deal with it. It's just there. But people have seen this. There are people who've just seen very unusual things. Billy was driving a tractor at one point. There was an iron stove. You know how the big stoves are in Europe, all cast iron, and they needed to put it in the back of the trailer. And Billy somehow drove up, and then the thing lifted up by itself, and it ended up in the trailer, and he drove off. They've seen him driving the trailer around roads without touching the wheels. And, you know, in the past, he did some things like that. So that's the fun stuff. You know, it's like, oh, what are we going to do with that? He's an honest man, but I tried to trick him 4 times because he said something in an answer to a question. I don't want to go into it a lot right now. And 6 months later, and a year after that, and a year after that, I asked him, oh, Billy, what about, same answer, without a hesitation. I'm going, well, this guy's must be telling the truth. But that's the whole thing. I always sat to listen, and I took notes, and we spoke. I always felt that this is an honest man. But I also said, there's things I have no way of knowing or proving. So when I did my arrangement to represent them, I said a couple things. Number one, don't pay me. I don't pay you. Then we're free. People can say Michael does this for money, but I don't. Okay, great. Then the other thing is I've got to be free to say, I don't know, or I disagree. And I like it. I like not knowing. I like being able to disagree. Like even Brian said before, well, I had this other opinion. I changed it because I learned it's true. That's what we should do with things, so we don't have to believe anything. It's better in my world to say, well, I don't know. Well, don't you believe it's true? Because Billy said, I said, I would trust that it's true, but I'm not going to go and tell people it's true because Billy said it and I can't prove it. So it gives us freedom to not be followers, not fall into like a cult mindset, but we can talk about these amazing things people have witnessed. They simply have, like you said.
Yeah, but that's what you seem to be doing. That's exactly what you seem to be doing, following a cult.
No, have I asked anybody to join anything? I don't even know what the rules of the cult would be. If I'm free to disagree with Billy.
You implied as much because he's the one, right?
I said in big letters, why would I say there's no other UFO contactees? I've never seen the evidence. I deal with people now who are scientists, military investigators, people with top security clearances, legal experts. I can't tell them, well, Billy Meier said so, therefore it's true. I can say, here's the evidence, here's what I know and what I don't know, but there's nothing to join, there's nothing to believe, there's no cult leader. People are in his own grouping. People disagree with Billy all the time. Anyway, I think there's some other people that maybe want to.
Well, I just have one more comment. I was reading the introduction to your story and everything. Do you actually have a proofreader?
Do I have a proofreader?
Yeah.
Sometimes I put things together myself a little quickly. So I was asked to create an introduction, and I know that I did that quickly. I don't even have it in front of me. Most other things I proofread, and I have somebody who will proofread things on the blog. We try to make sure that it's not wrong. Did you have a particular thing that you wanted to point out?
Well, yes, because I'm a camera specialist.
Aha.
And on page 24, somebody says, additional camera sound equipment supplied to Edward Meier. Okay. Then it goes, camera data. Edward meters photographic camera. Well, I must have been thinking about camera meters. It should read Edward Myers. Okay. Make Olympus 35 ECR camera. I have that very same camera. It shows maximum shutter speed, 1/100th of a second. the actual highest shutter speed of that camera is a 500th of a second. Then it goes on, film used, 24 by 35 millimeter, 18 Dean. That does make no sense at all. Either the film format is 24 by 36 on 35 millimeter film.
I didn't write that. That's not my introduction. No, I'm just telling you that.
Yeah, but this is totally false information.
Could you send it to me, because I want to see what you're referring to?
Well, it's on page 24. You can.
Of what? Page 24 of what? I don't know what
that is. Can you see it?
I can see, but I don't know what it's from, because I don't have. That's not from me. It's something. And if you can just tell me what
the web page. Well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's maybe Brian can tell you.
Okay, so whatever that is, if it gets forwarded to me, then I can trace down what the document is and who wrote it. But I didn't write that.
Rolf, do you mean the link in the UFO meetup, the link in the description?
Yeah.
Well, that link was given to me by Michael.
Which link are we speaking about?
It's in the UFO meetup, Vancouver UFO meetup, the description of you in the meetup. You can look at it right now if you like.
Yeah, I want to do that. Hold on.
Camera data and photographs taken by Hans Koni Schutzbach, Guido Moosbrucker, Wolfgang Watzer, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, this is
Anyway,
some older stuff.
If somebody,
but I want to find that. Hold on, I'm going to look it up so I can see where you're talking about in the thing I sent you. I don't see that link. I don't see. I am looking at the page, singularly authentic. Billy Meier context, key to our future survival, details. There is my introduction, Michael Horn, blah blah blah. There's a link here, one link on the press wire. Maybe let's see if that's what you're talking about. Cold case photo. We have a photo link. I don't. I'd like to see the other link. Gosh, let's see if that's it.
Yeah, I just took a screenshot of it, so I.
Yeah, what link is it, Rolf? Because the link I have just goes to a one-page thing. If you look at the meetup description.
Yeah, and then
what do you mean?
There are one of the top 3 links I clicked on.
There's only one link on the meetup thing, so you're talking about something else, Rolf. Well, what are you referring to?
No, it's on that one. Well, anyways, if somebody reads this, then they question, well, what other information may be wrong?
Yeah. So if you or Brian can send that to me so I can trace it down, then I can better answer what it is. That sounds to me like it's old information, report or something. It could be wrong. I'm not saying. I don't even know right now. So make sure I get it if you guys would.
Right.
And then I will try to, get you an answer.
Okay, I'll shut up.
Okay, we have a question from Greer next. Okay, Greer, where are you, Greer? Is this your first time with our UFO meetup in Vancouver?
It is. Hi, everyone. I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Very good.
I've had many experiences throughout my life. So have my Bible thumping grandparents that don't want to admit it, but they can't help. They can't deny it because they've had experiences. I hear fear more than I'd like to throughout some of the UFO communities. And to me, life is perception, perspective. You make it what it is. This all attributing to my query on soul contracts and not everyone having the memory that Billy Meier's supposed to have of his encounters, where many people have experiences. Some people will excuse away as OBEs, astral projections, lucid dreams, but they They know they've had emotional encounters. And then some people just know something was wrong, like the lamp being displaced or whatnot. So intuitively, psychically, I have many messages that come through to me, and soul contracts is a thing where we have agreed, and I don't know if you guys believe in star seeds, that not everybody here was a human, that some people are here during this incarnation to assist the humans to be able to come up to speed and therefore transcend and ascend into higher conscious state of 5D, New Earth, or whatever you want to call it. So what is your take via Billy Meier's take on soul contracts of us experiencing, donating our DNA, genetic materials during these visitations and coming back with no memory?
Okay, I think I understand your question. So let me say, just to be careful, according to the information in this case, because I am not somebody who has knowledge about all this stuff, but I also study and I also have my own experiences, quote unquote. So here's what I would say as openers. What we call the soul is a temporary construct. It's located primarily, but not, around the solar plexus. In the spiritual teaching, the creation teaching, they refer to this as the psyche. The psyche, which has it's a plexus. It connects to our personality, to our nerves, emotions, but the spirit, the human spirit, is the immortal piece of this creation, this universe, that actually physically is located deeper in the middle of the skull, let's say, back here, closer to the pituitary pineal gland. That elemental piece of energy is like a hologram, like a little piece of the entire creational energy. It is immortal and eternal according to this information. When we die, the spirit immediately leaves the body if we're dead, doesn't come back in for after so-called near-death experiences. The spirit leaves and it goes into the kind of etheric realm around this world that they refer to simply as the beyond. Now, let's go back to souls and soul contracts. As I said, according to the spiritual teaching, the soul is a temporary element that's connected in each life to each personality. We are never the same personality in future incarnations as a person, in the future reincarnations.
Okay, let's just say tomato, tomato. It's a spirit contract, not a soul contract. It's something, and I'm not talking about the humans. I'm talking about starseeds who came here to assist in the ascension. We are still connected to our families, and we have a spirit or soul, whatever, beyond this conscious realm, a contract with the ETs to assist them with our genetics and our DNA and whatnot. And it's the reason why many of us do not remember or fear, because we don't remember we had an agreement with them prior to this incarnation.
Okay.
And any kind of limitation, arguing for any limitation is repugnant.
Well, that's fine, but these are beliefs that you're putting forward, and that's fine. I'm trying to answer them according to information that you are free to accept or reject, or question, or whatever.
Right. This tomato, tomato on the soul contract / spirit contract.
It's not tomato, tomato, because,
it is.
All right, may I finish? Every religion that deals with the idea of a soul thinks that the soul is the immortal, eternal part of us, and it goes into heaven or purgatory or hell or whatever, and it either floats around up there with some deity and plays a harp, or it's down there baking in high temperatures. Here's the thing. Okay, so let me finish. It's not tomato, tomato. Every religion that speaks of the soul views that as an eternal construct, as an eternal energetic, whatever. It isn't. The psyche is temporary. Now, this is important for this reason. You're talking about things such as soul contracts. So how does a soul and contracts with ETs? I started to do something called New Age comedy in 1986. I did it for 12 years because at that time, and I'm going to guess maybe you weren't born, I don't know, but I got acquainted with every kind of belief, souls, soul travel, soul agreements, soul contracts. I mean, get your red hot souls here, whatever. Everything was a soul something. And it wasn't until I started to study the Meier material that they explained why that didn't exist and why there's the soul, the psyche cannot make any contracts. The spirit doesn't make contracts. So we're not making contracts with extraterrestrials who in reality are only, for the most part, as far as we're concerned, advanced or not so advanced human beings going through evolution like we are. So with all of this stuff about soul agreements and soul contracts, soul families and soul travels and oversouls, we've got some construct that we can do nothing with because there's no evidence for it.
Back to tomato, tomato. You know very apparently that when I said soul contract, I was discussing eternal. And when I say tomato, tomato, your claim is that soul is only understood as the Billy Meier agreement, whereas 95% of the rest of the world sees soul as eternal, sees soul as spirit. Everybody I've ever had this discussion with thinks soul and spirit's the same thing, tomato, tomato. We're not talking about your middle chakra. I'm discussing the fact that we have eternal agreements. And if you are unaware of star seeds and their assistance for humanity, just say that.
Hold on. Star seeds, ascension, indigo children, all of this stuff comes, believe me, I remember when each new one of these beliefs was created and pushed forward with no evidence. So now when you say we have agreements and contracts and all this and star seeds, this is not, according to this, and this is, people have to work it out for themselves. There are in the reincarnation cycle for Earth, according to this information, there's something like 52 million spirit forms originally of extraterrestrial origin. Humans from other worlds who over time have ended up on Earth. They were here thousands of years ago, coming and going, hundreds of thousands and millions. They're not magical beings. They are not superior. They're not the Space Brothers. There's no ascension. That is a mixture of New Age nonsense, anti-scientific, combined with Christianity. That's great. Ascension.
That is your opinion, though. It's not based on facts. And because every single person is a spark of the infinite, and therefore we live in a multiverse, and Earth has been created as a construct for many conflicting ideologies and truths to exist simultaneously. So you're again arguing for limitations of our very existence. But what you just said leads into my second question, which is the Prism of Lyra, which existed hundreds of millions of years ago and were the first humanoids to incarnate in, or not incarnate, but become in this galaxy. And I am very confused. Let me finish. I am very confused as to how many different variations of this that I have come across, whether it be through the super beings or the mind matrix or the raw material. They say the Draconians somehow intercepted 12D beings such as the Lyrans and Vega and all that. How can a low vibe society possibly infiltrate and screw up a high vibe society?
Okay, let me try something. Prism of Lyra is, I believe, also the name of a book by a woman named Lisa Royale. Are you familiar with that book?
Yes, I have the book, but that's only one of my resources.
Okay, wait, let me. I know Lisa Royale because when I was going around to every possible channeling event between 1986 and 1990-92, Lisa was one of the people sitting up there making faces, doing silly voices and claiming that she was channeling this and that and the other thing. Now, in all fairness, I went to see Bashar and Lisa Royale and Sean, I think her name was Sean Randall, all these people who were channeling. I paid a lot of attention because I thought it was very interesting. And then I realized there was not one verifiable piece of factual, uniquely significant information in any of these challenges. Now, where did the idea of Lyra and all this stuff, Lisa Royale was another, I said, I know this woman. I've known all these people. she was reading the Billy Meier material, in which they were explaining, long before she was born, that the original ancestors for these Plejaren came from the area Lyra or Lyra, however you like it, in that part of the universe, that they were the forefathers of the Plejaren people, and there were other races. These were always human beings. They're not little space brother floating around things with all these crazy ideas from the New Age. Many of them were like Star Wars warriors on steroids. They traveled around the universe. They enslaved people. They had a lot of abilities and powers. Forget the crystal part. We can do nothing with it.
Okay, so being that you just admitted all that information, back to my first question, it is not impossible that some of us had agreements with those people and incarnated here intentionally right now to help. Whether you believe in ascension or not, it's just part of evolution. But I have one final question for you. Have you ever loved anyone, Michael?
Yeah, hold on.
Can you prove it? Can you prove that you've loved anyone?
Hold on.
Does that make it not exist if you cannot prove it?
Well, I guess the fact that I was a single parent who raised my daughter from infancy when her mother fell into...
That is not what I asked. I asked, did you love your daughter? And can you prove it?
No, well, it's two things. Okay, let's go back a step, because you just mentioned, you were onto something. You were very close to something. Wait a minute, please. Let me finish.
Yeah.
Lyrans, people on Earth, it's actually a little more direct than this whole fancy thing. Many people on Earth had again, according to this information, had previous existences.
Yes.
As extraterrestrial humans, for better or for worse. Some were very destructive, some were not. They came to this world, and the law of reincarnation, according to information, is if you are living on a planet, you die on that planet, you reincarnate on that planet, which can, well, you can shake your head all you want. You know, what I'm just telling for those other people who might want to check out the spiritual teaching and see what makes sense. Ascension, going into 5D, is such utter unscientifically nonsensical stuff that it can only be sold through new age psychobabble. You ever see anything ascend? You just asked me, can I prove that I love? Can you prove ascension? What have you seen ascend? Ascension means you're going to move.
I can prove ascension through the very fact that 5,000 plus years of cross-cultural art, artifact, papyrus, cuneiform have all discussed about how we can attain our light body and transform into a higher, more collective version of ourselves, and that is ascension. And in this life, if we, just give me a minute, say on the scheme of things, when we dream at night, we go through hours or days of an experience in a matter of moments. So microcosm, macrocosm, you like science, and that seems to be a reality in nature itself, microcosm of the macrocosm. So this life right here is that minuscule dream that we have prior to awakening, thus ascending, tomato, tomato, don't get stuck on the word, we will evolve. And going through all these bizarre and crazy and perverse situations, we know what we don't want, therefore we decipher and manifest that what we do want. So is it not possible that we are using this moment prior to our actual birth into infinity to create our reality as we awaken into the fuller version of ourselves? And we will continually do that until infinity's gone.
That's an interesting thing, that it's in and out of, let's say, I'll call it my understanding of the information. For this reason, I showed, a cover of a book called The Might of the Thoughts. And I also mentioned, Meyer says, the meaning of life is the evolution of consciousness. That should overlap with what you're looking at. We've got some different perspectives, but let's put it this way. You asked a question. So in the book, The Might of the Thoughts, also, and in a lot of the other teaching, we learn we create that which we are responsible for in our day-to-day lives, and we as parts of the collective all create this reality through the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, and the thoughts that we bring forward. That's fine. It's simple. It's energy follows thought. It's like a law of physics. cause and effect. It's not a mystical thing in that sense that we have to wait for an awakening and enlightenment, all of which are human created ideas that may or may not be true. And even we could say, well, maybe the spiritual teaching isn't true. We create moment by moment through our thinking. If we want to set up a construct and a belief that it's only a dream that we will awaken from eventually, that's fine. But what about if you're responsible for your thinking and you decide your thoughts are, I am living this life now. I am evolving now. I am at this level. I am learning. I'm loving. I'm living. And I don't have to overlay it with a bunch of stuff that I cannot really do anything with. I can hold it if I want to, but not everybody's going to share that. We can know from real life when people think a certain way, if they feel a certain way and they act a certain way, there's a consequence, and there may be other consequences long range. And it's true for all of us. If we stick with that which is demonstrable, understandable, it accords with nature, it accords with science. The rest of it, people can believe what they want.
Okay,
So,
well, I'm hearing a contradiction because you straight up said Billy Meier says there's an evolution in consciousness, and maybe some people are foo-foo about what ascension means, but that's all it is to me. And again, tomato, tomato, we're discussing the same thing with a different title.
okay,
That's
here's
all
the
I
thing. Here's one last thing I'll say. Is this thing that I'm holding, here's a pen, is this ascending, or is it evolving, or is it consciousness? What are we talking about? These are terms. This
You
is
already
going up.
said consciousness evolves. You answered my question
Right.
10 minutes ago.
It does, and it doesn't change its frequency, its density into a light body or a 5D for a very long time. So if we can be
30,000 years
satisfied
from now, we will not be as dense as we are right now.
that we won't be as dense probably up here. Our bodies will still be third dimensional, as Plejaren's bodies are third dimensional, but they are at a higher vibrational rate. There's nothing the matter with matter. It doesn't suddenly change in a moment to another thing, but that's okay. We have some essential commonality with the idea of the evolution of consciousness. You want to call it ascension, I say, well, it's not the same thing, but somewhere we're trying to get to the same place and overlap where we can say human life, evolution, consciousness, spiritual development, and then we find out step by step what's true about that and what isn't true. That's also, it's not in that sense an argument.
But once again, you're dealing with 7+ billion individuals who have different ideologies and core beliefs about their creator.
Yes.
And
you're right.
we
right.
have created an environment for conflicting truths to coexist, hence our multiverse. So you cannot say what is for everyone else.
It's some things one can say are.
Don't Occam's razor me. Contact even proved that to be wrong.
What's that?
Just because it's the simplest, most direct explanation does not mean it's always true. That is a argument for limitation, Mr. Occam's razor.
Why don't you let me finish the thought, and then maybe we have to move on if there's other demand for it. But here's the thing. There are things that are true for everybody that lives. We breathe, we eat, we drink. There's certain commonalities. We have feelings and emotions. We have thoughts. Everybody has unique talents. Everybody has unique failures, and some of us have common talents and common failures. There is great commonality in many ways. However, you were right. The fact is that there are now actually over 9 billion people on the planet. Just as a factual counting that we received in January of this year, not 7 billion, but that's another thing, which is at the core of humankind's problems, according to this information. All I'm really wanting to say with it is we are in it with everybody else. And as you rightly said, there's a lot of different beliefs and all. So that's why I say, I don't care what people believe. I want to know what's true. And I don't know all the truth, obviously.
How can you know what's true when there are coexisting truths for many? Your science is blocking the possibility that we exist at all is the miracle, is the mystical. And I have one of the most intelligent people I know has a very similar mindset where he just can't plug in the word magic and miracle and fabulous and fantastical and etheric and galactic and evolved or ascended or angelic. He just can't plug those in.
I think I'm agreeing with, and that you said something about, existence and miracles. The real miracle is existence itself. It's the question that has boggled everybody's, let's say, science and philosophers' minds, and will continue to, because how out of seemingly no thing does something arise that leads to everything that we know in any sense? And that is the miracle of creation. And that is something that we don't have a great answer for. Science seeks for that answer. Spiritual teachings present their versions of it. And that is, there are no other miracles. The miracle is existence. Those things which we call miracles occur when they are real, because they occur in harmony with known or unknown laws that are immutable as well.
I realize you're the guest speaker here, but you're not allowed or empowered to tell anybody what can be miraculous to them. And I'll leave you guys with this. In November, I had some crazy lucid dream that was way longer than this painting is a visual. But I don't know, my camera is terrible. The lighting.
We can see it okay, we can see it.
So this is the Milky Way galaxy. They came to me on some sort of a glowing, I can't say on or in. They were surrounded by something that I could only call glow. And he looked concerned but loving. And then when she came forward to me and our eyes locked, she turned to stone and became all these ancient symbols that I have yet to find in Enochian or any other language. Not that I'm finished researching, but any thoughts on that? I guess it would go back to my first statement of how we label things differently. Leave the light on. It's a glary light. I don't like the glary light. So I don't know what to call that. I know I was very consciously lucid when it happened, but yes, I was in bed. And I remember that more than I will remember this talk tomorrow. I felt every bit of it, but I can't say or prove it was real to anyone but me. But 3 months later, it stood out in my mind enough to paint it incredibly accurately. So, but the fact that she turned to stone and became all these ancient symbols is what befuddles me. I don't need anybody to tell me or verify if I had the experience or not. It was what happened in it was a trip.
Mm-hmm. That's your experience. Well, nobody argues with your experience.
I didn't ask that. I was discussing that she turned into a bunch of ancient symbols.
Right. Well, that's your experience.
Useless. Thank you. Appreciate you, Michael. Anybody else?